Story 1. The Man in the Bushes. After a long, exhausting shift as a food delivery driver during a sweltering heatwave, all I wanted was to finish my last delivery and head home. My shirt clung to my back, my hair was damp with sweat, and my legs felt like they could give out at any moment. Though the sun had long set, the heat still lingered, oppressive and suffocating like a blanket you couldn't kick off. My throat was dry, and my mouth tasted like cardboard from too many hours without water. On top of it all, I desperately needed to use the bathroom. I checked the address again as I pulled up to the house. It was dark, with no lights inside or out. The place looked like it hadn't been lived in for years. Dirty windows, peeling paint, and an overgrown front lawn. I parked, grabbed the pizza box, and hoped this would be quick. But something about the house made me uneasy. It felt abandoned, like a place forgotten by time, where shadows seemed to move on their own. I approached the front door, and the silence was eerie. No crickets, no distant traffic, just stillness. I rang the doorbell, but no one answered. I rang again, feeling the sweat drip down my neck, still nothing. I pulled out my phone and called the number on the order. After a few rings, a woman's voice answered, sounding breathless and apologetic. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I'm on my way, please just wait a few minutes." Her voice was shaky, like she was hiding something, or someone. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Okay," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I'll wait." But the need to relieve myself was becoming unbearable. I glanced around, hoping to spot a neighbor or even a stray cat, anything that would make the place feel less deserted. But the street was empty. Just me and this eerie, old house. I couldn't wait any longer. There was a large bush near the front, thick with leaves. It was dark enough to give me some privacy, so I walked over, glanced around one last time, and unzipped my pants. Relief washed over me as I finally let go, the tension in my body easing. Then I heard a rustle in the bushes right in front of me. My heart skipped a beat. I stumbled back, almost falling over as I quickly zipped up my pants. In the dim light, I saw a figure. Someone crouched low in the bush, their face hidden in shadows. I had just peed on a man. The man suddenly bolted from the bush, sprinting away before I could even process what had happened. He didn't look back, just ran like his life depended on it, disappearing into the darkness. I stood there, frozen, my heart hammering in my chest. My mind raced with questions. Who was he? What was he doing hiding in that bush? And why did he run? I looked down and saw something glinting faintly, a bag half hidden among the leaves. My hand shook as I reached down and pulled it out. It was a small, worn backpack, and when I opened it, my stomach dropped. Inside was a roll of duct tape, a knife with a serrated edge, and a length of rope. This was no ordinary bag. It was something a person with bad intentions would carry. I stumbled back, reeling. The man in the bushes wasn't just some vagrant or thief. He was planning something terrible, and I had interrupted him. I grabbed my phone and dialed emergency services. I tried to keep my voice steady as I explained what had happened. The man, the bag, the woman who was supposed to be coming. They assured me help was on the way, but it felt like an eternity before I heard the sirens. I paced the yard, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, expecting the man to return. Then I saw her, a woman walking quickly down the street, glancing over her shoulder every few seconds. She was the one who had called. She was pale, eyes wide with fear, and when she saw me, she broke into a run. "You have to help me," she said, her voice trembling. "He's after me. My ex. He's dangerous." I didn't need to be told twice. I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward my car. "Get in," I said, trying to sound calm. "We'll wait for the police here." She nodded, tears streaming down her face as she climbed into the passenger seat. I locked the doors, my eyes scanning the dark street, waiting for any sign of movement. Minutes felt like hours, but finally The flashing lights of police cars filled the street. Officers poured out, and I waved them over, explaining everything as quickly as I could. They searched the area, but the man was long gone, leaving only the bag behind. The woman gave her statement, and they reassured her that they'd do everything they could to find her ex. As for me, I drove home that night with the image of that man in the bushes burned into my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about what could have happened if I hadn't been there. It wasn't just luck. Deep down, I knew I was meant to be there. And the thought of how close that woman had come to something terrible left me deeply shaken. I'll never forget that night. The shadows, the heat, and the cold fear creeping up my spine. Story 2: The Abandoned House on the Hill. A few years ago, my best friend Lucas and I made a plan to explore an old, abandoned house on the outskirts of our town. We had heard plenty of stories about it being haunted, but we didn't believe them. We thought it would be fun, something thrilling to do on a boring weekend. Little did we know that decision would change how we saw things forever. The house was on a hill, far from any other buildings. It looked ancient, with cracked walls and broken windows. The roof had caved in spots, and vines covered most of the structure, making it look like it was being swallowed by nature. As we approached, a feeling of unease settled in my chest. Lucas, always the brave one, walked ahead confidently. "We'll just go in. Take a look around and leave," he said, trying to sound casual. I nodded, but a strange sense of dread was creeping up on me. The air around the house felt heavier and colder, like something was wrong. I tried to shake off the feeling and followed Lucas through the broken gate. The front door hung off its hinges, creaking as we pushed it open. Inside, the house was dark and smelled of dust and decay. The floor was covered in dirt, and old furniture lay scattered, broken and forgotten. The silence inside was suffocating, broken only by the faint sound of the wind blowing through cracks in the walls. Lucas began to explore, looking at the old furniture and peeling wallpaper. I stayed close behind, my eyes scanning every corner of the room. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. As we moved deeper into the house, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. My heart pounded in my chest, and I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see something lurking in the shadows. Lucas, on the other hand, acted like nothing was wrong. We reached a narrow staircase leading to the second floor. Lucas turned to me with a grin. "Let's check upstairs," he said. I hesitated. "Maybe we should just look around down here," I suggested, trying to keep my voice steady. But Lucas was already climbing the stairs, the old wood creaking under his weight. I sighed and followed, gripping the railing tightly. The second floor was even darker. The windows were boarded up or too dirty to let in any light. As we walked down the hallway, I noticed something strange. The air up here was colder, and there was a foul smell, like something rotten. I wanted to tell Lucas that we should leave, but before I could say anything, we heard it. A low, deep growl echoed through the hallway. Lucas froze, and I felt my blood turn to ice. The sound was coming from behind a door at the end of the hall. It wasn't an animal growl. It was something much more sinister. "We need to leave," I whispered, my voice shaking. But Lucas, stubborn as ever, started walking toward the door. "It's probably just the wind or something," he said, though I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. As he reached for the door, the growling grew louder, more menacing. My heart was racing, and every instinct in me screamed to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Lucas slowly pushed the door open, and what we saw inside made my stomach churn. The room was dark, but in the corner we saw a shadow, a figure that wasn't quite human. It was hunched over, and its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. The growling stopped, and for a moment there was complete silence. Then the figure spoke in a voice that made my skin crawl. "Leave or never leave again." The words hung in the air like a curse. Lucas and I didn't wait to see what would happen next. Without a second thought, we turned and bolted down the hallway. The house seemed to come alive around us, the walls groaning and the floor creaking as if something was chasing us. We stumbled down the stairs, barely keeping our balance, and sprinted for the front door. The air around us felt thick, like it was trying to pull us back, but we didn't stop. We ran out of the house, through the broken gate, and didn't look back until we were far enough away to catch our breath. When we finally stopped, we were gasping for air, our hearts pounding. We stood there in the empty field, staring at the house in the distance. It looked the same as before, quiet and still. But we knew better now. We never talked about that day again, but the memory of it stayed with me. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had escaped something dangerous, something that didn't want us there. The figure's words echoed in my mind. Leave or never leave again. To this day, I don't know what we encountered in that house, but one thing was certain. We had come too close to something beyond our understanding. Something dark and twisted lived in that house, and it had made sure we knew it. From that day on, I avoided that hill and that house. Whatever was in there, I didn't want to find out. We were lucky to escape, but not everyone might be as fortunate. And I never forgot the warning. Leave or never leave again. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the night. If you enjoyed the hunt and want to see more adventures, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to stay updated on all our midnight mysteries, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Your support helps us uncover more secrets and bring you thrilling new content every week. Until next time, stay curious and keep hunting. This is The Midnight Hunt, signing off.